We're here in Bremerton, Washington at Gordon Fields near Silverdale, and we are in the spotlight today with Pete Fewing, the head coach of Kitsap Pumas Professional Soccer Club. At least that's one of the hats he wears, and we're going to talk with him today a little bit about what he's doing over here in Kitsap, but also first about what's happening right now in youth soccer in Washington State. So, Pete, good to have you here.
Thank you, David. Nice to be here.
Let's talk first about your transition as a coach from Emerald City Football Club to Seattle United. How is the transition going? And if you can describe what the team you're taking with you is going through to join the new club.
Well, the team that I'm coaching, the boys U18 team, is a lot of fun. We have, I think, 7 different nationalities on the team. We have 2 young men that are Eritrean, I think I'm saying that right, and Honduras, El Salvador, Greece, Mexico. So we have a really unique team in that we've got a lot of different nationalities represented. The team did quite well last year in that it was our first year in P1, and we won the league coming up from P2, so it was good fun. We've lost a couple of those guys, and they've gone on to the Sounders Academy, which is great. We've lost 2 there and 1 to the Crossfire Academy. So we're rebuilding that group, and the transition from Emerald City to Seattle United, it's a big undertaking because we're not just looking for the top 2 teams. With Emerald City we had an A and a B team, and now we're looking for an A and a B and regional teams, and so the goal is to try to find a home for every player that wants to play. That takes it down, not to say 28 players for 2 teams, 14 or 15 on a roster, 30. But now we're talking all the way down. So we're putting together. It is for the kids, which it always is for the kids. It is whether it's us or Emerald City or whoever. The coaches that are involved want to do a good thing for the kids. So I do think that we're having to learn as we go. Right, but the philosophy that Jimmy McAllister, who's our coaching director, I love Jimmy. He was a hero of mine as a young kid. We actually played together a little bit. I then coached his son at Seattle University, and I really like what Jimmy's vision is. And Jimmy could coach, at the professional level, no question about that. And yet his goal is to make sure that we're giving the young kids a good experience. I also like that we're trying to develop the whole group, not just the top, because I think a kid who's 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old isn't reaching his peak until he gets a little older. So if we can create a system where kids can improve and their skills can get better, then if we have a way of identifying them and then bringing them up to the first teams or second teams, I think that's a great process. So trying to bring all this city together is a big undertaking. 14,000 kids in SYSA. That's a lot of kids to try to put together, but we've got a terrific staff, a very good philosophy, and everybody's working hard. Meetings, lots of meetings. I'll be at a meeting tonight, so yeah, it's fun.
So how many how many teams at Seattle United will you be in charge of then? Right now it's just the one, or?
I'll have 2. I'll have a U16 girls team, which will be a West Region team. So the other thing is that, with my previous coaching history, I've got one citywide team, and then I've got a West Region team. I'm the West Region coaching director, and so the idea is that if I'm going to be the West Region coaching director, I should be in the West Region. So I will have a regional team as well, and then I'll work with all the 18-year-old across Seattle United. I'll work with all the 18-year-old coaches, all the coaches of the U18 teams.
If we look a little bit in the rearview mirror, the club that you're transitioning to Seattle United from, Emerald City FC, are off this year and for the foreseeable future, I guess, to U.S. club soccer. Yeah. Can you look in the crystal ball a little bit and think of some of the good things and perhaps even challenges that club's going to face now they're switching over to U.S. club?
Yeah, the challenges might be that travel on a weekend, trying to meet a schedule that's more northwest. There's the base of games is going to stretch further. I understand Oregon's going to be a part of that. So that might be one of the big issues. I think it's great when you are a very competitive team to have a lot of travel and or have some travel. I think if you are not the very highest echelon driving 7 hours for a game that you could get locally, I think is it's a bit tough. And so, it's one thing if you're on the Washington State team, or you're with an academy team, but I just think the travel is going to be a little bit more. And they're trying to get their league up and running, and I know they've got good leadership in that. But so they'll be fine. But I think the difference is staying a little bit closer to home. Still getting good competition. I'm not talking about the competition dropping off at all. I'm talking about just being able to have more of a weekend, and still get a quality game in.
So you think the level of competition they'll find in the U.S. club is going to be similar to what they had before?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think we're not going over and playing Brazil, and they're U17s and U18s. So yeah, I think there'll be teams just as good or better, and I think there'll be teams just as good or less. I don't think it's a promised land of new talent that has been hiding. So I don't think it's going to change dramatically the level of play. Yeah.
Well, we've got to end with another youth soccer question, and it's a general question which you can take in any direction you want. Are we, as a Washington soccer community, providing enough opportunities for kids in the sport right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think more is happening all the time. I think that our kids are getting opportunities out of state for college. You see kids going off to UCLA, Wake Forest, Santa Clara, Santa Barbara. So clearly the world is knowing that Washington youth soccer is producing top talent. There are so many tournaments now in the state of Washington. There's training opportunities. The partnership between the Sounders and Washington Youth Soccer, that's a great opportunity. It's logical. It makes sense. It's getting the two top programs together to make something great. So yeah, I would think so. When I was a kid growing up, played on one team from the time I was 6. I went and played for the University of Washington Huskies. After the UW season was over, our team came back together. We played in the men's league. It was nice to be able to do that. It was really nice to be able to play on one team. That's kind of old school, and it's a nice thought. Now players have an opportunity to find a more competitive level, and they can find that level, right in their own backyard. So to answer your question, yeah, I think we ought to get better. I think when we talk about Seattle United, honestly, Jimmy and I, we'll be in front of 300 people tonight talking about the program, and it'll be brought up. We want to get a U.S. national team player to come through our program. So we want to provide that level. We also want to provide somebody who just wants to play. For me, I'd love to see us, all our coaches are the manufacturer of their players' good old days, right? We as leaders, coaches, teachers, anybody who's in charge of a group, you're the manufacturer of your people, their good old days, whether it's players or employees, whatever it is. So I think that's something we have to remember. I think that's very important. And we have to provide a reason for our young kids to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to smoke that. I'm not going to drink that because I play on a soccer team. And it's so much fun. I know that I'm letting my teammates down if I go down the wrong path. So my hope is that we're teaching leadership, that we're teaching confidence, that we are teaching life skills, and that we're winning, and we're winning gracefully, and that we're losing humbly. I hope the life skills that transfer from the athletic field to life are being taught, and I do think that, and I think most coaches think that way. I don't think it's limited to Seattle United versus Crossfire. I think most coaches think that I hope they recognize their role and their opportunities. So. Yeah, I also hope we're creating the next Chris Henderson, or Casey Keller. I'm so proud of Casey. I love watching him. I admire him, and I played against him a little bit, but as a pro and what he's done in the game is special. So,
one thing that we both maybe can agree on is that there's never been a better time to be involved with soccer in the state of Washington right now. On every single level, there's buzz.
Yeah, I agree. When I was a kid growing up, I was a huge Sounder fan. We had season tickets and went to all the games, and I can name 100 Seattle Sounders. And when I was 8, 9, 10, I wanted to be a Seattle Sounder. That's been recreated. So we owe Adrian and Joe and Drew Carey and Paul Allen, we owe those guys some thanks because there's a lot of young kids. Last night I'm walking my neighborhood and I'm wearing a Sounders coat. There's a guy walking the other way and he's got a Sounders coat on, same coat. And there's a lot of enthusiasm for the game. And new fields are being built all the time, being transferred. Woodland just went from gravel to sand. Now they've got field turf, and so better surfaces are being provided for kids to continue to improve in the game. So, yeah, I agree. It's getting better all the time.
Well, thanks a lot for visiting with
my
us today.
pleasure.
And in the spotlight today with us was Pete Fewing here at Bremerton, head coach of the Kitsap Pumas, along with all the other things that he does in soccer.